Hello everyone, welcome to, it's a very gorgeous summer afternoon here at Carrow Road, obviously a little bit earlier than normal. Norwich have lost here 3-2 to Chelsea. We've been waiting a while to speak to Todd Cantwell, so a little bit delayed, and I'm also up against it for reasons you probably don't really want to know about, but so it might not be a prolonged verdict, but it'll be a relatively informed one, I hope. After a really pulsating game of football, actually, one I really enjoyed, really entertaining. I think everyone in here really enjoyed it as well, despite Norwich losing, and I think you get that kind of leeway early in the Premier League when you've returned and been promoted and had a good result the week before. It all kind of helps. But also I think the crowd's reaction, 27,000 in here, really appreciated the effort that Norwich put into this, because they didn't really give Chelsea a moment's peace. That said, I think they were second best. I think you could make a case for the fact that Norwich could have got a point. Of course you can. But on chances, on the dynamics of play, and certainly in the second half, I thought Chelsea found a gear that was one or two ahead of what Norwich could really compete with. They never looked cut adrift, Norwich. But I guess the key question is, there were things that Norwich weren't doing as well as we've seen them do, and the key point is, was that because of the way Chelsea were pressing them and harrying them and the dynamic of their midfield, or was it because Norwich were having an off day? Because I saw more mistakes from Moritz Leitner in the first half this afternoon than probably in his entire season and a half at Norwich City put together beforehand. So but likewise, Chelsea's midfield had a real grip on the game for a lot of it, and Norwich just didn't have the time and space to kind of keep control of the game. I never felt Norwich had control of the game. They had some good spells, but never really control. And Chelsea, it was 2-2 at half time. Norwich did brilliantly well to get back into the game twice, but Chelsea were creating good chances. Tim Krul made a couple of outstanding saves, and that was coming possibly a bit too easily. I don't think it's hard, because I think this was a difficult game for Grant Hanley, in that he gave a bit too much space in a few games, and it's not really about him, and it's not really about you have to appreciate that he is it takes weeks to get up to speed if you've not really had a proper pre-season. So that hasn't changed in the space of 7 days. He's obviously in a better position, but he's playing against a better side as well. So don't really want to pin it on him, because it's not that straightforward. And likewise, for those of you who want him closer to come straight back in, he's had even more of a curtailed pre-season and hasn't had any games to get stuck into now. So you can't suddenly bring Tim in at West Ham, I would imagine, especially when you've got Crawley coming up in midweek, which is an ideal opportunity for Tim to get some more minutes under his belt. But likewise, he's not going to play in that and then play at West Ham, I would imagine. So I think I'm probably prepared to say that Chelsea's movement was very good. I thought Kovacic had a real impact on the game. Mason Mount is a very good player, and Norwich would have loved to have had him a couple of years ago, I think, on loan. And Daniel Farke was clearly a huge fan, and he scored a cracking goal, which he's done here at Carrow Road before. So, and even though Pedro was out in the warm-up and Conte picked up an injury before the game, so they both missed out today too, Chelsea have still got a lot of quality, and you could tell that they just had in them a few more gears than Norwich could manage. I would say, Chelsea are going to struggle to finish in the top 6, I think, because they've got a lot of work to do, and I would say they're probably considerably short of those sides. But of course, coming up against Norwich in their second home game, they probably had enough to win the game and deserve to win the game. And it was interesting, because I think Chelsea managed to have some really good strength in the middle of the park, and that kind of spread to Norwich in the second half, not really having their fullbacks able to push on, and Max and Jamal were kind of taken out of the game a little bit, which I think at that point Norwich are going to struggle. But it was still an exhilarating game. Norwich pushed Chelsea all the way, it has to be said, and there were some really good performances in there. I thought Ben Godfrey was excellent again. Still seeing Emi Buendia being a little bit overeager, but he did brilliantly well to create The second goal, which was scored by Tim Pukki, of course. That's his 5th in 3 Premier League games. But that goal, the whole opportunity was made by a wonderful piece of skill from Todd Cantwell, who continues to excel, and he got Norwich's first equaliser, which was kind of made by a brilliant drive by Emmy, who is definitely showing the quality he's got, by the way, and the potential. And then an assist for Pukki, who continues to either create or score goals. He can do them both. So the first goal was quite well made by Chelsea. It was a really sharp finish as well by Tammy Abraham, but he did have a lot of space, it has to be said. And the second one, again, the room Mason Mount has to score that goal is frustrating. Tim Krul just really getting exposed, which is an annoyance. But we're still early on. Frank Lampard, of course, has now won twice here, which is twice more than anyone else as a manager since October. They're the only 2 defeats Norwich have suffered. So, let's put that into a bit of context. The next visitors here are Manchester City. I'm sure Pep Guardiola will have a plan. I mean, I don't think Manchester City will mind coming up against this Norwich defence, but it is the other side of the international break, and we'll have to see how things look. Even just simple things like the fact Tim Pukki's got 2 huge games for Finland over that break. So it'll be interesting when we get there. But of course, Norwich have got to go to West Ham before that at the end of the month, or a week today, in fact. And the trip to Crawley, which will give players like Patrick Roberts and Sam Byram a chance to shine. Tim Closer to get some minutes under his belt. Maybe we'll see Zimmerman. It might be too early, but you never know if he looks up for it. Patrick Roberts left out of the 18 today to kind of facilitate Tim Closer coming back in to sit on the bench. So Daniel Farke said that was a tough call, and you can understand that. So he'll be desperate to kind of maybe prove that point, and I'm sure he won't be too far away from it. It's just when the opportunity arises, probably. So there we go. I think you can take a lot of positives from it, but these all positives at this stage of the season all require Norwich to then make the necessary improvement. Otherwise, you end up looking at these games and saying, well, yeah, they weren't defending very well then, were they? So there were a few open moments, but Norwich clearly look like they've got the goals in them. It's hard to underline and underestimate how important Tim Pukki is to that, of course, but enough maybe to take away and think, okay, let's see what we get at West Ham, which will be, I think West Ham are playing at the moment. It'll be very interesting to see what we get from that game, of course. Thank you for watching, as always. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't as yet, or follow my Facebook page where you can also watch these videos. That is, of course, the place to be. And of course, if you want to watch my analysis after today's game, that will be on The Athletic. The links will all be in the description for you. If you haven't seen it yet, there was a piece on Daniel Farke during the week, and I was in Finland. You should make sure you watch my deep dive into the background of Tim Pukki, because once again he scored, and once again I find myself feeling that if Norwich can keep him fit, they will be just fine this season. If you read my piece on The Athletic, I think you'll understand why. Anyway, here it finished. Well done, Frank Lampard. Well done, Chelsea. They have won 3-2. Norwich City will go again, I believe is the correct term, and we'll see what we get at the London Stadium. I've not been back to that place since London 2012 Olympics, so I can't wait to go back, and we'll see what Norwich have. And of course, before that, Crawley, where I've never been to either. So 2 exciting trips for our week. In the meantime, enjoy your bank holiday weekend. Remember to check out The Athletic for my analysis over the course of the weekend.